Raw opens with Hayden Storms coming to the ring to celebrate his King of the Ring and Heavyweight Championship victory. He gives a heartfelt promo about how much the titles mean to him and how far he's come not just in the ring, but in life. Hayden apologizes to the WWE fans for dropping off the face of the planet, for disappearing, for drifting away. But God had put him through trials to truly test his resolve. Hayden admits that defeating the Sandman was supposed to be a suicide mission, but damn is he happy to have come out on the other side. Hayden tells everybody else struggling out there that there is more, that life is more than worth living, if for nothing else than to see how much better you can be than you were yesterday. Yes, he could have rolled off into the sunset with all of his accomplishments and his millions of dollars, but that's not the kind of man, the kind of father he wants his son to see. If it only takes one more climb, one more mountain, one more submission, one more pinfall, one more victory to get to the top of that mountain, why not take that chance? Antonio Snyder's music hits. He comes out clapping, obviously with sarcasm. Antonio says that if Hayden really is a man of God these days, then Antonio might as well be the president of the United States. Antonio isn't buying any of it. Hayden's always been driven by his own selfish ego. A man that hid his son from the world now wants to be a good father? Antonio tells Hayden that he wouldn't know the first thing about being a role model, and he sure as shit doesn't know what it means to be a champion. He simply got a stroke of luck. But Antonio tells Hayden that the game has changed. Without the Hayden gang, he's nothing. And Antonio can't wait to prove it. Antonio declares that he is the rightful heir to the heavyweight championship and challenges Hayden to a match at Survivor Series. Hayden is amused by Antonio's disrespect, but he accepts the challenge. He says he doesn't need help and will prove his worth by defeating Antonio one-on-one, mano-a-mano. He warns Antonio that the strands of sand better stay out of his way. Later in the show, cameras catch Alan Snyder backstage approaching Storms. Alan expresses his concern about Antonio's challenge and offers his support for Survivor Series. Hayden thanks him but reiterates that he wants to handle this on his own. Alan looks concerned, but he respects Hayden's decision. The main event of Raw is a tag team match involving members of the Strands of Sand. During the match, Storms comes up to watch from ringside, keeping a close eye on Antonio. The match ends with the Strands of Sand winning due to underhanded tactics. After the match, they surround Hayden at ringside, but he manages to fend them off, sending a message that he won't be intimidated. The segment ends with Antonio staring down Storms from the ring. Next week, we're backstage with Dean Hellblazer approaching Hayden Storms. Hellblazer expresses his deep concern about Hayden's continued trust in Alan Snyder. He reminds Hayden of Alan's past as a Sandman. Hellblazer argues that the darkness is still within Alan, just waiting for the right moment to resurface and betray them. He says that Alan only helped Hayden at King of the Ring because it benefited him at the time, and he shouldn't be trusted. Hayden listens intently but remains steadfast in his belief that Alan has changed. He tells Hellblazer that he appreciates his concern, and if Alan does turn on them, they'll be ready to deal with him. But for now, he trusts Alan's word. Hayden Storms has a match against Buddy Matthews. It's a competitive match, but Hayden controls most of it. During the match, Antonio Snyder appears at ringside, distracting Hayden. This allows Buddy Matthews to gain the upper hand for a short period. However, Hayden manages to overcome the distraction and secures the victory. As Hayden returns to his locker room after the match, Antonio ambushes him. He shoves Hayden face first into a nearby TV monitor, shattering the screen and leaving Hayden with a severe cut on his forehead. The attack is brutal and sudden, leaving Hayden incapacitated. The camera lingers on Hayden's bloody face, emphasizing the viciousness of the assault. Antonio stands over Hayden, a cold, satisfied look on his face. He then whispers something inaudible to Hayden before walking away. Medical personnel rush to Hayden's aid. The severity of the injury is played up, with commercials speculating about whether Hayden will even be able to compete at Survivor Series. Alan arrives on the scene, looking genuinely concerned. Next week on Raw opens with Antonio Snyder and the Strands of Sand in the ring. Antonio cuts a promo about his attack on Hayden Storms the previous week. He showed replays of the assault on the Titantron, relishing in the violence. He mocks Hayden's injuries and claims that he has proven his dominance. He said that at Survivor Series he would not only defeat Hayden but also end his career. Antonio harkens back to the past, 2 years ago, where Hayden called him the Shadow Brother. Antonio is now the main event, while Alan is a broken old man, one bump away from breaking his little neck. While Hayden was in the shadows, Antonio has been here building an entire generation of superstars. Can Hayden say the same? Where's the Hayden gang now? How good did that do the WWE? Once again, Antonio says, everything Hayden's done in this company is to help himself. Antonio can't wait to end it all at Survivor Series, to finally put Hayden Storms away. Later in the show, Snyder comes out to the ring and confronts Antonio in the strands of sand. Alan believes that what they did to Hayden was nothing short of an act of cowardice. Antonio tells Alan to grab a violin and start playing, because nobody gives a shit. Alan knows what this is about. This is about him, not Hayden. Him. If it's Alan he wants, he's just coming at Alan directly. Antonio laughs at this suggestion. Antonio says that Alan is just as self-centered as Hayden, thinking everything is about him, when in fact, he just wants to see Hayden burn. Hayden embarrassed Antonio 7 years ago, humiliated him. 7 years ago? Alan can't believe what he's hearing. A 7-year grudge? Alan tells his brother that he's actually fucking lost it. Antonio says that things in life are clearer than they've ever been. Now, if he's done worshiping the ground that Hayden walks on, Alan should leave the ring before things get bad, real bad. Alan warns Antonio that he and Hayden have each other's backs, so if he's planning anything sneaky at Survivor Series, Antonio cuts Alan off. He says that Hayden's been on a vacation while Antonio has become the most dangerous fighter on the planet. If Hayden had the powers of the Flash, Superman, and the Incredible Hulk combined, Antonio would still flatline him. There's levels to this game, and Hayden is so far below Antonio that the strands of sand interfering would only be for fun. Next week, Raw opens with Hayden Storms coming to the ring. The visual is striking. One of his eyes is normal, but the other is completely white. This immediately conveys the lasting impact of Antonio's attack from 2 weeks prior. Hayden's promo is raw and intense. He speaks with a burning rage, his voice strained. He recounts the ambush and the pain he endured. He says Antonio didn't just injure him, he tried to take his career, his livelihood from him. He vows to destroy Antonio at Survivor Series and then make him pay for what he did. He demands Antonio come out right now, actually, because he wants to fight him right here, right now. Antonio does not appear. Throughout the show, short backstage segments show Hayden searching for Antonio. He storms through locker rooms, offices, backstage areas, demanding to know where Antonio is. Alan is showed backstage, watching the monitors as Hayden searches for Antonio. He looks worried and tries to reach Hayden, but Hayden brushes him off, consumed by his desire for revenge. As Raw is going off the air, Hayden is shown leaving the arena, still visibly frustrated and angry. Antonio Snyder's truck speeds into the parking lot and runs Hayden over. Hayden is flattened immediately after being knocked back. Antonio then emerges from the truck, grabs a heavy chain attached to the back, and wraps the other end around Hayden's neck. He gets back in the truck and drives off, dragging Hayden along the pavement. The scene is brutal and shocking, with the truck dragging Hayden out of the arena parking lot onto the city street. We see Hayden being dragged, smashing into parked cars, adding to the brutality of it all. The commentary team reacts with horror, unable to believe what they are witnessing. The scene concludes with Antonio stopping the truck in the middle of the street. He gets out, looks down at Hayden, who is lying motionless on the ground, and delivers a chilling final message. This weekend at Survivor Series, it's all over. And as soon as I'm done with you, I may leave just enough to ship off to your bastard child. Antonio then gets back in his truck and drives off, leaving Hayden lying in the street. The show ends on this disturbing image, leaving the audience in shock.